I'm Maury Feingold. I was a teacher in Pomona Unified full-time for several years. I'm happily retired, but still sub. I am a wife of 56 years, a mother of 3 children, a grandmother of 5, and we have a gift of a 3-year-old great-grandson. A little bit about my teaching career. I was recruited at the University of Minnesota to come to California and teach in 1960 when I graduated the university. I was offered a job in Pomona. I had never heard of Pomona. All I knew is that it was 30 miles east of LA, and I knew some people in LA. My first teaching assignment was at Hamilton School on 9th and Hamilton in South Pomona. I rented a little place, and I taught at Hamilton School for 4 years. I met the man of my dreams, and we were married in 1962. He's a native of Pomona. It was our choice for me to be a stay-at-home mom, which I was for 17 years. I was delighted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we had 3 children in 4.5 years. I was very busy and involved with them, and look forward to returning to teaching, but it just wasn't a good time until the early 80s. Our children were older, the expenses were more, and it just seemed like it was time for me to go back to teaching. I had a job working with the gifted program in the Pomona schools for a couple of years, a week on and a week off. And when that ended, I was asked by the principal of Rory G. Decker School to come and be on her staff. I treasure the years I had at Decker. I became a kindergarten teacher, which was never really in my plan, but I evidently excelled because I became the master teacher for the kindergarten teachers in Pomona. I loved what I did, loved mentoring other teachers. It was a glorious career. I am still in touch with many of my former students who are married and having babies and making me feel really old. I've been to graduations and weddings and baby showers. It's just wonderful. I must say that I had planned to teach more years, but when the district offered a golden handshake, I said, you know, it was money that I couldn't really pass up, but I didn't feel I was ready. And this was in 2003. So I have continued to substitute teach at least 2 days a week for the last 15 years. I often go to Decker, and interestingly, there are children of former students. There's some other families that also are living in their parents' house, and their children now go to Decker. So I sub a couple of days a week, and I love that. I go to about 4 schools. Most of my experiences are very rewarding. I don't sub kindergarten anymore because I think I'm very sad. When I taught kindergarten, we had lots of time for play and the playhouse and physical activities, lots of time teaching how to color and cut in one color in one direction, cut on the line, how to hold a scissor, and all of these things, and there's no time for that in kindergarten anymore. And kindergarten is now all day, whereas I had 3 hours and 20 minutes. I think that the direction of education has changed. There's just no doubt about that. Computers have changed the whole face of what goes on in the classroom. My personal opinion is there is too much technology, especially in the primary grades. I think that we should let children be children. And I had 2 banners in my classroom. One was childhood should be a journey, not a race. And the other one was don't do for your child what they can do for themselves. So my goal in teaching kindergarten was to develop the whole child. I always said I can't just send a brain, a child who reads, to first grade. They have to have other skills, gross motor, fine motor skills, social skills, and so forth. Kindergarten now is very focused on academics. Maybe when I taught, most children had stayed home with mom or grandma. Now most children coming into kindergarten have been to preschool, and many of the things we taught in kindergarten have now been taught in preschool or daycare. Really, if a child hasn't been to preschool before they start kindergarten, they're behind. Not so much academically, but socially and emotionally, and being able to separate. When there are 3 generations living in a house, it's kind of hard because grandma and grandpa think they should do everything for the child, and they're really having problems having the child be independent.
Right.
Kindergarten now is all day. They spend a fair amount of time sitting at tables as opposed to a rug where you would have stories and singing and finger plays and things like that, sharing. I know some of that is done, but I think now there isn't time to do as much. The children do go to a computer lab at least one day a week for anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Many children have computers at home, and so they know how to log in, and there are some really good educational programs. I think that the focus for computers should increase a little bit every year, and some of the things they're doing in 6th grade are just amazing with PowerPoint presentations and all of their research and reports and everything. But I think particularly for the lower grades, it would be more important to focus on fine and gross motor skills, social skills, and things like that. Being a teacher is much harder now than it was. I think you learn a lot from teaching and from observing. Now, if you go into education, you have to take so many tests prior to your even getting a credential. Substituting is an interesting experience, and it might be good for somebody who has their bachelor's and not their credential yet to do some subbing, to get a feel for the climate in education today. If you have any, if you can play the piano or the guitar, and you can bring that into whatever grade level you're teaching, it really enhances the program.
Definitely.
As I would see someone who was an art major, bringing their talent and experience and exposure to whatever classroom they happen to be in. I remember once we had a teacher who was a music major, and she had a chorus and had 5th and 6th graders, maybe some 4th, and they'd get together and they'd practice songs and then put on performances at the school. So any extra talent that you have,
just to bring it in.
Bring it in, and it will enhance the kids' lives.
Even maybe like encourage them to want to do something similar when they get to the point.
I think that it's really interesting because there is a GATE program, Gifted and Talented Education, okay? They focus mostly in the schools on academics and high performing, other classes that are higher level and so forth. What I'm saying is there could be more focus for the performing arts, for music and art. And I know that there is a school in Orange County, and I have friends whose grandkids go there, where they develop the singing and the other musical and artistic and dance talents. But I think it would be nice if we could encourage more of that, at least in the elementary schools. 4th, 5th, and 6th can take instrumental music lessons. And a lot of kids try, and some like it and some don't.
That reminds me of like the School of the Arts in downtown Pomona. But I think that's a high school. So yeah, I think it would be different.
7th through 12th.
Right, yeah. So
I
the
know
older
people
kids.
whose kids go there. Our grandson went for a semester. I think that he learned a lot. He's very artistic, and now he's a tattoo artist, which was not his grandma's vision.
Oh.
I was hoping more like Disney
Animation.
But anyway, there are more opportunities, but it inconveniences the parents if you have to transport them to a school that's not in your neighborhood. So that would hold some people
to
back.
make that like more accessible, and the public schools would probably be ideal. Yeah. I've also seen a lot of opportunities just for people who aren't even like in teaching as like a major or with credentials to just become teachers.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting because they said like, oh, you don't need a background in teaching. You don't really need to have a English major to teach English. You can be like media studies.
Well, I think that any experience a person can bring into the classroom. Okay, one of my experiences, one of the things I like to do is talk to the kids about the travels that I've taken. And so when I go into a class that I've been in before and shared my travel experiences, the kids always say, where are you going next? Where did you go last? And I think that I can enrich them with sharing the experiences I had, especially in foreign countries, although I certainly like to tell them about, you know, Philadelphia and the Amish country, going to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the light fixtures on the streets are shaped like candy kisses, and so forth. So I think any experience you have that you can share in the classroom is beneficial. With your bachelor's, you could take the CBAS and start subbing. In addition to subbing a couple of days a week, I have been volunteering at Pomona Valley Hospital. Since I retired, I work in the surgical waiting room, and I check people in for day surgery and take care of the people who are waiting for them. I do that on Wednesday mornings, and it's the very best day of the week for me. I just love it. I've met some wonderful people and had some really nice experiences. The nurses and doctors are so appreciative of any help at the hospital. So it's my pleasure to do that, and I plan to continue to do it. I am very involved in the city of Claremont on many committees and commissions. I've sort of made a name for myself. I've done interviews. I'm currently on a committee which is not very popular, Future Financial Opportunities. The city of Claremont needs more money, and so there are a group of 9 of us who are trying to come up with some ways to solve the financial situation. I'm on an excursion committee for the city of Claremont. We plan trips for seniors, and we decide where to go, and we do a trip a month. And as part of my being on the committee, I get to chaperone trips, so that's fun. Although sometimes taking care of 47 senior adults is harder than teaching kindergarten because they don't always listen. But anyway, I've had a great experience. I love to travel, I love to read, and I go to a water aerobics program as many days a week as I possibly can. We've done extensive traveling. We've been to China, Israel, Egypt, Holland, Belgium, Italy, France, cruises to the Caribbean. We love to travel. It's just long plane rides are not my favorite. So we have in the last couple of years been spending more time traveling the United States.
Okay.
We were in Pennsylvania. We did the whole state of New Mexico from Santa Fe all the way down to Albuquerque. We went to Boston and Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. We've been to New York a couple of times. So we still have more of the United States to see. But we visit family in Minnesota and Kansas, and I just am very fortunate, consider myself very lucky.
Awesome.